See if my partner, Bishop, is on the line.
Yes, I am.
Bishop, are you there? Okay, great. Now, Bishop, are you able to participate here on our webinar here tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, wonderful. Well, yeah, I gotta check. I gotta check. Okay, I know you got a lot of things going, lots of different projects, and then I know that you just recently had a baby, and so
Well, yeah,
I
that's
know that
why I
you're
said
trying.
it that way because
I,
Ruth could come in any
brother,
minute
that's
and
why I'm
ask me to
asking.
watch them. So if I don't answer, that means she came in for me to watch them real quick. So
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Well, folks, right now that we have a chance to hear from Bishop a little bit, I'd like for him to introduce himself. I'm going to do, a little bit of that, but I got to tell you, this opportunity here is really attracting a lot of different types of people. But you know what? The people that are really, really attracted to this are entrepreneurs because when an entrepreneur does his due diligence and does some research and really looks into what Bitcoin is all about and who's involved and where this thing is going, they realize that they're at the beginning of a trend. Actually, a trend that's already started, and we still have enough time if you have that sense of urgency and are able to recognize an opportunity and jump on board, where the timing is so key right now. And so there's people in Big Club Network that really identified this 18 months ago, and we were not some of those people. And unfortunately, it took about 18 months of this to be actually proven and the opportunity really start to transform people's lives all over the world. And now that it's come back here to the US, we've taken a really serious look at this program and are just thrilled to be a part of it. And so now we're sharing it with our closest and dearest friends. And of course, if that's how you got invited to this webinar, which is by invitation only to the Big Club Network, it's because somebody really thought, hey, I like this opportunity for myself, and I'm just going to share it to my closest business associates or friends and family because I don't want them to miss out on what quickly is becoming a transfer of wealth with Bitcoin. So, with that being said, I want to introduce Bishop Stewart, which is my business partner. He's my friend. He's our brother in Christ, and I got to tell you, I am so thrilled to be working with him. Never met anybody that really had the drive that this man has and really the heart to really reach out and help people. He's already vastly massively successful, but at the same time he knows that the best way that he can help people is to help them financially and to be able to achieve those goals. So Bishop, I'm so thrilled for you to be on here with us, brother. So if you could just kind of tell us a little bit about what you saw in Big Club Network and why you started to share this with so many people.
yeah, absolutely. Being an entrepreneur and an internet entrepreneur, I'm always, being an entrepreneur, they always say you want to be a friend of the trend. And you can either make money in a trend or spend money in a trend. And right now, there's no question about it. In this economy right now, there's a transition of wealth that is happening. The middle class is disappearing at an alarming rate. And one of the things that interests me with that is that the people that understand what is happening and they're paying attention to the new revolution with the internet and technology, so on and so forth, are the ones that are on the higher end of this equation, right? They're either going to be tremendously wealthy or people that are tremendously struggling. So the middle class is disappearing. So when I saw this opportunity, I did a lot of research. In fact, Danny, I first saw this opportunity about 18 months ago when it was in its infancy. And I got to be honest here, I didn't jump on it. I was very interested in Bitcoin, but the model itself, I didn't really take a hard look at. It hadn't proven itself yet. And I like to really make sure that if I'm going to expose people to something, that it's solid. That is so important to me that it's solid. The business model has proven itself. And now, in hindsight, I wish I would have paid attention to my good friend Joe because they've created something that was tremendous. Now, once I started doing more due diligence, Danny, as you're going to show as we go through the presentation, this company, I hear a lot about cryptocurrency right now. It's going to be the future. And just imagine if all of us could have tapped into the internet. That's how I look at it from the very beginning, or social media from the very beginning. Now, in the beginning, there was people that didn't understand it, so they didn't jump on it. But now with this opportunity, I see that I'm a study of success. So I study successful people, and I see that the Sir Richard Bransons and Warren Buffetts and Bill Gates, etc., are jumping on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency because it is absolutely going to become the mainstream of what is happening. And I like to be a part of things that are going to change the way we go about our daily lives. And so opportunities like this don't come around often. And so I'm very excited because I believe that this is going to help us set up a inheritance for our children's children.
Absolutely. So, the old saying applies, right? You could push water downstream or you could change the course of the water. And I think that that's what BitClub Network is doing, is really changing the course. And so if we jump on board here, we could definitely benefit from that. So let's just go ahead and get started real quick here, an introduction to Bitcoin. So if you're already familiar with Bitcoin, you understand that the way you can get it is you either buy it from somebody that has it or you mine it. So that's what Bitcoin mining is all about. I'm not talking about physical mines. I'm talking about being able to mine digital currency, and that has to happen with the latest and greatest supercomputers that are out there that actually do this. There was a time when you could mine Bitcoin with your PC, but because of the difficulty and the mathematical problems that it takes to actually mine Bitcoin, right now, really it's an opportunity for the wealthy because it takes a lot of money to set up a mining operation in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is decentralized and not controlled by any government or institution. Bitcoin is sent using the internet directly from person to person. So this is completely peer-to-peer. It's fast, safe, anonymous, and it's to send money all over the world. In fact, I'm going to be sharing a little bit about my story because when I first looked at it and I looked at Bitcoin mining and I looked at Bitcoin, it all seemed so foreign to me. It's like I'm mining coins and it's on a computer and how does this work? And it just seems so abstract to me. But when you really pay attention and start looking at what one Bitcoin is valued today versus what the value of it was back in 2008 when this whole thing got started, you're going to realize that we may not understand everything about it, but we do understand value. And when a one Bitcoin, people are paying hand over fist hundreds of dollars for just one Bitcoin, it really paints a panoramic view of what's going to happen as more demand of the coin starts to exist. So there's no fees, no chargebacks, and no borders with Bitcoin. So it really is an attractive mechanism to move money around, accept payments around the world. So who uses it? Just about everybody you can think of. You can actually live off of Bitcoin right now. In fact, there's some documentaries that we'll be pointing out towards the end of this presentation where you can actually go and research and see people, living on just Bitcoin and using and buying and doing all of their day-to-day transactions in Bitcoin. So these are some of the companies, and this is just a handful of them. There's over 150,000 businesses in the U.S. and an estimated 750,000 worldwide. Now remember, there's no refunds, no chargebacks or fees to accept Bitcoin. So this makes it a very, very attractive way for businesses and the small entrepreneurs and even big entrepreneurs be able to transact and save on fees or more traditional forms of payment like credit cards and credit card transactions and all of that. Now, quick example here about the internet. We're just going to point out a couple of things. Security. I mean, security on Bitcoin is actually bigger, better, more efficient, more safe than the internet. Now, we all know that there's money in the internet, right? Everybody can make money online these days. I mean, fortunes have been made. And so I think everybody would agree that all of these companies that are on here are on the internet because they found a way to be able to monetize the views, right? The engagement. And that's been happening. So we don't fully understand everything about the internet. We just have learned to accept it and know that it exists and know that it's a moneymaker and know that it's a tool, even though we fully don't understand the concept because it's abstract. Nobody owns it. Nobody controls it. But we've learned to accept it, adopt it, and capitalize upon it. And so there's people on this webinar that use the internet every single day to promote a ton of different things. YouTube advertising, Facebook, I mean, Amazon, eBay, Google, all these different places. And so this has become a huge, huge industry. Now, the reason I say that is because you understand right now, maybe not all of the stats and figures, but intellectually you know that the internet has really bridged time and space and has really turned the world into a very, very small place. Right? So we understand that. Maybe we don't understand the stats and figures, but we know that we're interconnected. Well, what's being predicted by the smartest and wealthiest people is that Bitcoin is going to surpass the power of the internet, because you get all of the benefits of the internet in terms of the, being decentralized, but at the same time, remember, we're dealing in money now, moving from one place to the other, which is huge. So we're right at that point right now where we could definitely get involved and still capitalize on this. And as an example, we're taking numbers from the 2014 global remittance fee market, where 54 billions are being, through Western Union, PayPal, MoneyGram, different banks around the world, sending and receiving money, excuse me, with only about 5 billion in Bitcoin. So huge comparison there. Now, this is probably one of the most powerful reasons why I got involved in Bitcoin. I had heard it about 18 months. In fact, in the very first week that this actually launched, I knew about it, but decided to pass because a confused mind says no. So at the time, I was confused, right? I heard about Bitcoin. I heard about Bitcoin mining, but I didn't fully understand it. I own a company that I transact business, from multiple continents, from Europe, from Brazil, from, North and South America, here in the U.S., and I was accepting wires for payment for my services. And for the customer, it was expensive, right? Because they had to pay anywhere from $40 to $60 to send payment. And in order to set up merchant accounts domestically and internationally, it could be very expensive and really very difficult to set up, especially if you're a brand new company. There's reserves, there's all holdbacks, there's all different types of things. I don't want to dive into a whole conversation on that. But what I found is somebody recommended me, well, why don't you just take payment in Bitcoin? And I was scared. I was like, well, what happens with the fluctuation of the currency? Because I knew a little bit about it, and I knew that there was fluctuation in value. It says it's not an issue. When you actually make a sell, they pay you in Bitcoin, the price gets locked in, and then you could transfer into your bank account and turn it into dollars. I was like, what? Yes, and it's immediate, and that's it. And there's like almost no fees. And I was like, you're kidding me. And so I did even more research. And so then I ran a little test. I had customers in Argentina that actually had to jump on a boat, go to Uruguay, because it's so difficult to move money around in Argentina. And they'd have to go to Uruguay to wire me money on a monthly basis or just to purchase my software. And so at that point, I said, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. And I did. And I started taking thousands and thousands of dollars in Bitcoin. And now I wish I hadn't turned them into dollars, because I was receiving Bitcoin when it was worth $200. Right now, I didn't check it this morning, Bishop. I don't know if you checked or anybody on here has checked it today. But, it's like hovering around $400 over the last 2 to 3 weeks. So that's pretty impressive. So folks, this is real, and I understood value then and there, because I was getting paid instantaneously, and within 24 hours the money was in my bank account, and it locked in the rate with zero fluctuation and really no fees. So that's what we have, folks. We have a powerful mechanism, and so all of these companies that you see here are companies that have come onto the scene to be able to do Bitcoin transactions. And that's all this is. These are mobile wallets or e-wallets or whatever you want to call them, but they transact in Bitcoin. And some of these you can actually tie into your bank account. Some of them are just peer-to-peer. And so there's a whole slew of them, and people have actually spent millions upon millions of dollars in this technology. And so let's continue on here. And here we're going to just dive into a quick little explanation of kind of the history of how this all got started. So every 10 minutes, new Bitcoins are released to miners. Now, once again, these are not physical miners going into a mine underground. This is all done on computers. And when it first got started, you could do it on your PC. But now, as the difficulty of mining Bitcoins has increased, and there's a finite number of Bitcoins, which in this case is 21 million, it will create scarcity, and it should prevent inflation. Now, here's what happens. When it first started, they were releasing 50 Bitcoins. Okay, so these are blocks. They call these blocks. And they were 50 to a block. Now, something significant happened when the first halving period started, which was 4 years into Bitcoin. So when it went to the first halving period, it actually only produced now every 10 minutes 25 Bitcoins. Now understand that after 4 years, there was more demand, less Bitcoin, so that shot the value of the coin up. July 2016, which is right around the corner, folks, and you need to pay attention to this part, because now, more than ever, more than 4 years ago, more than 8 years ago, now more than ever, okay, let's say that again in English, now more than ever, more so than 4 years ago or 8 years ago, folks, we're going to another halving period. So since that first halving period to today, the coin has hovered around $400. That's from going from no value to $400 after the first halving period. So July 2016 is the next halving period, but right now the demand of Bitcoin has increased. The availability of Bitcoin has decreased. So what happens when there's more demand for the supply that exists? So it's just simple. It's simple to understand, right? When there's something of great value that people want to buy and it's in short supply, then that makes it even more valuable. Now, 21 million doesn't sound like a whole lot, but what you need to understand is that each one of these Bitcoins is divisible by 100 million. So a dollar is divisible by 100 units, right? So there's 100 pennies in a dollar. If you take a little copper penny and you break it in half, then you can't divide it into halves and expect somebody to take payment with a penny. It just doesn't happen. So you can only divide a dollar into 100 pieces. Well, 21 million Bitcoins is divisible by 100 million, which puts you into the mega trillions of dollars. So this will happen every 10 minutes till 2140, and right now in the next halving period, we're going down to 12.5. So just little quick history here. The very first documented transaction was a Papa John's pizza on May of 22nd of 2010. It was purchased with 10,000 Bitcoin, which at that time was a $25 value. And today's value roughly would be around 4 million. Actually be more, because when this was set up, this example, the value of the Bitcoin was hovering around 260. So lots of good information here, folks. This is where we are right now. So if we're poised for the next halving, all the smart money, I mean, people like Tim Draper, that's heavily in the millions and millions and millions of dollars, heavily invested in Bitcoin. Why? Because they know something that's about to happen. And so that's why we are right now still with a very, very viable opportunity in terms of time and recognizing the opportunity that we have in front of us. So this chart is showing the Bitcoin difficulty changes over time in terms of producing Bitcoin, which is the mining part of it. The mining is basically the production mechanism that produces Bitcoin. And so it's done with supercomputers that figure out complex mathematical problems. And when you solve them, you're rewarded with Bitcoin. And that's when you get those blocks. And the people that actually do the rewarding is called the blockchain. So there's this whole industry, this whole language, this whole jargon that surrounds Bitcoin. But as you get more acclimated or educated on the subject, then you're going to understand what it all means. I think we need to come up with a glossary for the uninitiated and really go through that and explain what everything means. But just very simply, as it increases in difficulty, there's also a need to update to the latest, to the greatest, to the most efficient, to the most productive supercomputers on the planet in order to continually mine Bitcoin. And so those are the two challenges that most mining operations are going to run into at some point. How do I keep being profitable when the old equipment starts becoming really antiquated and it no longer produces? How do I stay ahead of being able to solve these problems? So those are two issues, right? Reliability of equipment, failure rate, and how these problems become exponentially more difficult. But even be that as it may, this chart is showing you where Bitcoin has been when that first pizza was sold to all of the daily transactions. Now, I'm in the world of charts every single day. I track the markets. That's my business. I'm, from 6 o'clock in the morning to 1 o'clock p.m. People know, don't contact me because I'm trading. That's what I do. Teach people how to trade. I have a software, I have an auto trader that does that. And so I'm looking at charts every single day. I was actually having this conversation the other day because I was showing people there's always fluctuation in the market, always. But if you look at this chart, okay, you would see a trend here. And the trend here is because of the scarcity of the coin, but the current demand and public acceptance and increased transactions per day, it's actually going up and up and up. So as more people get involved and understand what Bitcoin is all about and how you can actually move it around easier, better, cheaper than moving money around, fiat currency, then all of these daily transactions are increasing. And when that happens, what winds up happening is the value increases again. So we are the only Bitcoin operation out there. Okay, this is very important. If you take nothing else from this, I'm going to tell you this. Are we the only mining operation out there? Absolutely not. There's about 19 to 21 different companies that control the mining of Bitcoin. Okay, and compared to, let's say, Antpool or F2 Pool or BTC China Pool, we just started 18 months ago, right? They've had an 8-year head start. But we are the only operation that if you decide to be a part of this, that will let you play and not have to have a $500,000, $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million in liquid cash to be able to participate in a mining pool. This is important, folks, because over the counter or your desktops or whatever, you can't mine Bitcoin profitably unless you have the latest and greatest equipment. And so that's important. And with that comes money, infrastructure, facilities, the know-how, and really a mechanism to be able to replace machinery as it becomes obsolete. So we are the only company out there that's on the blockchain, right? We play with the big boys that allows the average person to participate in Bitcoin mining. And that's why this chart is so significant, folks, because as you can see here, here's the Bit Club network. That's us. And on this chart is 1%. Actually, we've gone as high as 5%, but trading right now between 3% of the daily production of Bitcoin is done by Bit Club network. So this is very, very important because this gives it the gives the opportunity, the legitimacy that we're all looking for in terms of, are they really mining Bitcoin? Because all of this works, folks, if you're mining Bitcoin. If you're not mining Bitcoin, then it's just smoke and mirrors. It doesn't mean anything. It's just another story. And we don't want that. And so that's why after seeing this for 18 months, doing the due diligence and actually looking into whether or not we were actually mining Bitcoin, it became very apparent to us, and very quickly we understood that this was something that was worth really looking into. So, Bishop, anything you'd like to add there? I know that you might be caught up right now, but if you can, would love to hear about what you think about what we just covered here.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, this was a really, really big factor. Again, we wanted to make sure that this was real because there's a lot of things that people have shown, Danny and I both, in terms of cryptocurrencies and different things that they were doing, claiming that they were dealing with Bitcoin and they weren't even on the blockchain. So to see, we always say documentation beats conversation. And to know, once we start doing our due diligence, to see that they are actually on the blockchain, they're actually mining, they're actually partnering with some very big establishments and the organization that Sir Richard Branson is heavily invested in now, really made all the difference for us. And we knew that, okay, this model has proven itself. They are only going up. And so we've been extremely, extremely excited about it. And one of the things that excited me too is, I'm not sure if you guys know of the Winklevoss twins. They're basically really big investors. They were with Facebook, heavily involved in Facebook. They're billionaires now. They're twins. And they are heavily involved in Bitcoin. And one of the interesting things, Danny, that I was looking at the other day is that they believe that they predict Bitcoin's market capitalization could easily skyrocket at least 400 billion, which is roughly the size of modern day companies like American Express. And that's where they believe that this is going to go, like American Express, MasterCard, Western Union. They believe that this is the cryptocurrency of the future and it's going to be mainstream, so much so that it's funny that they said that they're in this for the long haul. They have spent millions and millions and millions of dollars in Bitcoin, and they have not sold one single Bitcoin. And in fact, they even invested. I'm not sure if you know this, Danny, but they invested um, in a company called Gemini, which is basically one of the exchanges for U.S. consumers to exchange Bitcoin. So they actually started that organization as well, and want to push that to like the NASDAQ of Bitcoin. But when you see all of these people that are considered financial geniuses, if you will, in the financial arena, all coming here and saying this is what they predict to happen with Bitcoin, and to see that they're putting their money where their mouth is, that's who I follow and pay attention to, are people that are where I want to be. And so I'm excited out of my mind about this.
Absolutely. Well, there you can see on this particular slide that we're at 3%, like I told you. And I didn't check it today, but it fluctuates between 1% and 3%. It's been as high as 5%. Pool mining shares, right? We talked a little bit about that. We talked about standard mining power. I'm not going to get all technical. All this means is that it gets harder and harder to mine, and equipment starts becoming obsolete. And so what we figured out how to solve this is by allowing people to participate in the mining, where they take a percentage of their mining of Bitcoin every day as profit, and then they take the other percentage of the mining to repurchase more mining power, more computers, more latest and greatest technology in order to make that happen. So this is just a snapshot of a highly efficient mining configuration. BitClub Network has a facility in Iceland that is the biggest data center. I think it's the second data center in terms of size and secrecy, and it's kind of like Mission Impossible kind of to get in there. I mean, high security and the whole thing. So Bitcoin has really done things. BitClub Network has really gone. I mean, just in 18 months to be on the blockchain and play there with companies like Bitfury, which Richard Branson is the financial capitalist of that company, owner of Virgin Airlines, and to be on the same blockchain, it's just mind-boggling what this company's been able to accomplish in the last 18 months. So let's take this example, and if you take nothing else from this presentation, I want you to take a very close attention to this. Let's say you take $3,600 and you put it into the market, whether it was stocks, forex, commodities, futures, whatever, and you doubled it, or you made 10,000, you turned it into 10,000. That would be fantastic. But now we're also going to take a look at what it would look like if you took a long position in Bitcoin. Right now, at current prices, with $3,600, you could probably purchase about 9 Bitcoins. Our average price right now, let's just say it was $400. If everything happens the way one analyst, which is known as a Nostradamus of the financial world, just kind of all his predictions just happen. Tim Draper, and this isn't Danny Pacheco, this isn't Bishop Stewart saying this. This is Tim Draper. So if you don't know who he is, go look him up online on YouTube. Just put Tim Draper Bitcoin, and you're going to see just news, interviews and stuff like that he's done over the years predicting the future value of Bitcoin. So what he's predicting is that over the next 3 years, Bitcoin is going to go to $10,000 per Bitcoin. Now let's just dream a little, and let's say that did happen. So let's say you bought 9 Bitcoins at the price today, and in 2 years, 3 years, that same 9 coins went from 400 to 10,000. How much money would that be? Well, that's easy, right? That's 90,000, simple math. But what if instead of buying those 9 Bitcoins with $3,600, you actually put those $3,600 into Bitcoin mining? Now, let's say that over that same period of time, your 9 Bitcoins, there's a typo right here, there should be a 9 here. Let's say over that same period of time, instead of just having your 9 Bitcoins, the mechanism that produces the Bitcoin, which is the mining pool shares, over time gave you 30, 50, or 70 Bitcoins. Let's just take the lowest number here. And I'm picking 30, not just a random number out of a hat or just because I thought that was a cool number to pick. No, because right now, with our mining contracts, they've been averaging about the equivalent of about a Bitcoin a month, give or take. So if you did a Bitcoin a month for easy math, in 3 years from now, that would be 36 Bitcoins. So let's just round it off to 30. Let's round down and say you only have 30 in the next 3 years. But remember, instead of buying the Bitcoin, you're buying mining pool shares that are going to be the mechanism that perpetually will build you more Bitcoins and produce more Bitcoins for you. So let's say Tim Draper's right, and the value of each Bitcoin goes to 10,000, would you rather have the 9 Bitcoins or would you rather have 30? And so you really need to be honest with yourself and find out which way you'd want to go, because really what we have here, folks, is kind of like that old story of the goose that laid the golden eggs, right? And then the golden eggs. So my question is to you, if you could pick one, you can have one, but you can't have both. Would you pick the goose or would you pick the golden eggs? It's the same scenario. We could pick the Bitcoin and have it and buy it today at today's value and hold on to it with a long position on Bitcoin. But now let's do the math once again. Let's say it doesn't go to 10,000. Let's just say it goes to 1,000. So if you had 9 Bitcoins, it went to 1,000, that's 9,000. You turn 3,600 into 9,000. It's a great, great deal. But now let's say you had 30 and they went to 1,000. Would you rather have the 9 or would you rather have the 30? You'd rather have the 30, absolutely. So let's take another example. Let's say the value stayed the same. Let's say it didn't even go up. Let's say it stayed at 400 bucks. Would you rather have the 9 Bitcoin or would you rather have the 30? Well, if I have the 9, I turn 3,600 into 3,600, right? Didn't go up, didn't go down, I'm good. But if you had the 30, you'd actually have a profit. You'd actually just shy of doubling your money because you have more Bitcoin. Now let's take worst case scenario. Now believe you guys, if we thought this would happen, we wouldn't be doing this webinar right now. Okay, all the smart money, all the most wealthiest people out there are saying that Bitcoin will never go underneath $200. But you need to come into this with your eyes wide open. This is a currency now. That here in the United States, Bitcoin is really, classified as a commodity now. So you need to really understand that this is a eyes wide open kind of program. You need to understand that there's risk involved. And worst case scenario, the coin could go to 200, right? Maybe less. So let's take that example. Let's say you had 9 Bitcoin. You bought 9 Bitcoin today for $3,600. And over the next 3 years, the value of the Bitcoin went to 200. So it's half, right? So you would lose half of 3,600 bucks. But let's say you had 30 coins because over the same period of time, you didn't stay with 9. Now you have 30 because you bought the mining pool contracts. And now you have 30 Bitcoin, and if the value went to half, to 200, guess what? You're still in the game. You basically broke even. Actually, no, you made 6,000 bucks. You still almost doubled your money. So at 400, the value goes, if it goes to 400 and it stayed the same with 30, that's 14,000. I made a mistake earlier. That's about 14,000 if the value stayed the same. But if it goes down to half of the value, you'd still have a profit because you have more Bitcoin. Now, let's say it went to 100. Well, then you basically lost your money on $3,600. But if you had 30 Bitcoins, you're just shy of breaking even. So that's the power of having the mining contracts. Now, folks, this is a position long on Bitcoin. All the experts point to the value of the Bitcoin increasing. And that's why Coinbase was, one of the companies that was put together. I mean, they're so serious about Bitcoin. Just for opening up an account here and buying your first $100, they give you $10 and they give the person that referred you $10. Isn't that weird? That's 20% on $100. So these companies want people to get educated, to start buying their Bitcoin and start opening up wallets and be the ones that takes the lion's share of all of the transactions that are about to happen. Folks, this is real. This is happening. Bank of America just passed, I don't know how many different patents on Bitcoin. All these banks, Chase, Wells Fargo, are getting into the Bitcoin space. So if Bank of America is getting into Bitcoin, why aren't you? And see, that's the question, right? Why do we not get invited to play in this field, right? Nobody told us, right? This has been going on. But now, well, I can't even say that I did. They told me 18 months ago. I just didn't listen. So if this is your first exposure, folks, I hope that you're not telling my story 2 years from now. Because right now, I still have an opportunity to get involved, right? Even though I missed out on the first 18 months. But for the next 18 months, where this is going to go is staggering. We don't want to be left out. So
Yeah,
this is
and one
another.
of the things that you said, Danny, which is so important, is that the two slides back, just to see that if it stayed the same, and because they're actually being involved with the mining, how we're still ahead, even if it stayed the same, even if it decreased in value by half or more, we're still in profit. I mean, if that doesn't open your eyes to how powerful being a part of Bit Club Network is, I don't know what else is. And that's why I feel so confident in sharing this with people, because unlike a lot of other things that you can get involved in and invest in, it's very easy to lose. I mean, if it goes down, 10%, 5%, you've lost money. Here, it's not the case because we're actually involved in the mining. And that is the power of this club, as opposed to just going out there and buying uh, Bitcoin. And so for me, I mean, it's just massive. It's just massive what we have our hands on here. And a good friend of
Yeah,
mine, Joel, I know you're going to talk about this with the Philippines here. My wife is Filipina, and we send money to the Philippines all the time. And so Joe's wife was showing us how she sends money to her mother all the time in the Philippines from here, and she gets it instantly with no fees. She just goes to the ATM, punches in a little code, and the money pops out, and she gets it instantly. And so now that's what we're going to start doing to send our money to the Philippines as well. Just powerful.
it really is. And when you think about it, Bishop, if you were to do those same transactions through the bank or through Western Union or MoneyGram, I mean, how much do you have to pay to send money to the Philippines?
Well, Danny, I pay my employees. I have a whole bunch of employees in the Philippines that work for my companies, and we pay through PayPal. And just the fees alone, by the time we finish payroll, when we do payroll twice a month, is astonishing. And so now I'm looking at how we can just start
You
sending them
could,
the
you
funds
could
through
get
Pay.
everybody on Coins PHP.
Exactly. So that's what we're going to start doing now, because I just love this. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's a great story because Bishop, kind of like what happened with me when I shared my story is you understand the value of this now, right? Because I mean, think about how many fees you could save just by paying people out in Bitcoin.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I have Michelle. She does our accounting, and she's calculating all that now for me, so I can have an accurate number, so I can show you guys exactly how much we're going to be saving a year by switching over to this method.
Okay, awesome. Well, let me unmute one of our good friends here that's on the webinar here, and he has a couple of comments that he'd like to share. And Will, are you there?
I'm right here, Danny. Can you hear me?
For those of you that don't know Will is actually, I think he spent all day today talking to investment bankers, and he was featured as a guest speaker. Very, very knowledgeable in venture capital, raising funds, and just banking, and really different projects that he's actually putting together in the cryptocurrency over in Canada, and just really an expert in the financial world. And also in the home-based business arena, he's done some incredible things. So, Will, we're thrilled that you're on here. And if you'd like to, I saw your chat. You said you had a message. I have no idea what your what your message is or what your story is here. But if it comes from you, I'm going to shut up and I'm going to listen. So, Will, take it away.
Blush. Well, kind words, Danny. Great job, you and Bishop. Bishop, great job. You guys are just, don't let them kid you, folks. These guys are both very successful traditional businessmen, and they do a lot of international business. And one of the things that drew me to BitClub and Bitcoins, even though I've been following Bitcoins for about 2 years, from the investment background that I've got, I've watched it sweep through Europe and being most of the major banks in Asia, Bank of Korea, Bank of Hong Kong, others, they have actual ATM machines over there where you can exchange Bitcoin and get cash, currency, pay your bills, whatever you want to do right at the bank. Those are all very, very key things. But I've watched it also sweep through Europe and now work with business owners like Danny, who is an approved Bitcoin merchant himself, and Bishop, who does business, international business all over the world, start to accept Bitcoins and start to work with Bitcoins not only as an investment but as a form of payment and currency. So those are big tips from the bottom side. But from the top side, the bigger retailers, there's over 100,000 places now in this country that accept Bitcoin. And Gwen and I have been thrilled with the Bitcoins that we've been mining out of our own founder share that we got involved in about 3 weeks ago with BitClub. We're able to take a portion of that and go and shop at Whole Foods. We've been able to buy Starbucks, get Starbucks cards and things like that through Gift and through some apps. But these are also places where we can, with no fee at all, we can go out there and do our grocery shopping because we're big Whole Foods devotees for our groceries and things we need. But we also like Starbucks. And on top of that, many of these places like Starbucks give you up to a 20% discount on these cards and on your shopping through your BitClub and Bitcoin account. So it's been a real eye-opener. And there's things on the Gift app like American Airlines. Of course, Expedia now accepts Bitcoin. I've watched the New York Stock Exchange, which I follow religiously. I watched them put $75 million into Bitcoin. So when you have that kind of confirmation, like Danny says, from the back end, that's what I call a huge clue that this is coming here soon, appearing at a theater near you soon, just like it started in Asia and now it's everywhere, and it's also sweeping through Europe, and sooner or later they will let the general public know what's going on and how they can really save money, get away from a lot of fees, processing fees, and things like that here in this country. So we're really excited about it. We've loved the profit, the daily profit that we've seen every day, you know, the shares, and to be able to go and spend them, the liquidity of it, and go spend it on things we have to have, like food. That's a biggie. And my Starbucks on top of that, and also get cash back through this incredible program, I think is a real eye-opener, Danny and Bishop. So that's what I had to say, and I'm going to send it back to you guys.
Well, thank you so much. Well, we're thrilled to have you on the call here today, and thank you for that insight on what you can do with Bitcoin today. I mean, there's really nothing that you cannot do with Bitcoin, and you know, as it keeps growing into mass appeal, more and more vendors and retailers are going to be able to adopt this. And so that's the opportunity here, folks, because, you know, there's three phases. There's a phase where, you know, Bitcoin, when it first came out, I mean, it was being ridiculed. I was part of that. I would just say, man, this sounds like just a bunch of, you know, 4 or 5 nerds that didn't have dates on a Friday night got together and started playing with these mathematical problems, right? And so I've joked many times with Bishop, and I said, Bitcoin mining, I mean, what is that? It's just so abstract. And I've seen this take off. It's just been nuts. And so the whole cryptocurrency to me was just so foreign. And now, but when I started seeing the value of how much money I was saving in transactional fees from the bank was charging me to accept money from overseas and charging my customers on the other side to send it. When think about this, what does the bank do with my money? They lend it out. They do interest loans. They do all sorts of things. They trade with my money. And on top of that, somebody's trying to pay me, and I got to pay to receive it when I'm already paying the bank fees just to have an account in the first place. And then on top of that, my customer has to pay. And it's like they're not sending a plane full of money. They're not, you know, they're not physically moving money around. It's just a bunch of X's and ones or zeros and ones, or they're just actually digitally typing in the money and doing the transfer and verifying that the funds are there and the funds are over here. So it should be instantaneous, but I got to wait 2-3 days to be able to get the money and to be able to give service because they have to wait until the payment clears. So it's just this whole, well, I mean, I don't want to say it out loud because this is being, you know, recorded, but I mean, I feel like I've been ripped off by the institutions, and it's kind of set up that way. And so, folks, when you're able to understand the value behind Bitcoin or how you could move money from one place to the other, and they receive it, you get it, and it's instantaneous and the ease of it. And then if you want to turn it into fiat currency, you can and lock in the transaction. Very, very, very simple, instantaneous, painless. Spain's an early adopter. 10,000 ATMs in Spain where you can get your Bitcoins and buy Bitcoins and do whatever you want with Bitcoins. And
Hey,
those, of
Danny,
course,
can
are
you
big.
can you share how we were watching them, Winston and everyone watching them with the phones transferring money to each other by simply scanning in the QR RV code. Remember?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just in our own back office, for people that want to pay, if you have Bitcoin, if you already have Bitcoin on a wallet that you carry in your phone, well, that application will scan the QR code and immediately you're paid into BitClub Network. So just a phenomenal way to transact. And when you look at this and become one of the early adopters, right? We go through three phases, right? Ridicule, which I was a part of. Then opposition. There's going to be people that just are really gonna oppose this, like these companies like Western Union, PayPal, all these companies that are in the remittance fees are not too happy, but you know what, they're going to have to recognize that this is where everything is going. So there's going to be there's going to be opposition, but then where the huge fortunes are made is when it's self-evident. And so we're not there yet, folks, but this is going to become self-evident. And when it's self-evident, folks, nobody would argue with you today that the internet hasn't done what it's done. But somebody 10, 15, 20 years ago might have told you, hey, we're still going to be selling newspapers, and I'll always buy a newspaper instead of reading my news on Facebook, Twitter, and wherever else. So that's when things are self-evident, and that's where this is headed, and that's why the timing right now is so crucial for you guys to get informed and really make a good decision. So let's just take a couple of industries here, a couple of examples of where the valuation of Bitcoin could really skyrocket if we got into a few industries. And here, I'm not endorsing, do not care for it. It's not my cup of tea. I don't gamble. However, it is an industry, and if they would just take um, Bitcoin instead of dollars or fiat currency, what would happen is that's a 4.8 billion a year industry. That's online gambling. Actually, that's just a poker part of the gambling industry. Now, the whole industry itself is 30 billion. So if the market cap for Bitcoin was 30 billion, the value of each Bitcoin would skyrocket to 4,300. Amazon's not an industry, right? It's part of e-commerce, but when you think of e-commerce, there's no way you're not going to think about Amazon. I think this last year they did about 100 billion. They currently take Bitcoin, so this number's a little outdated here. We're going to have to fix it on that slide. But this is probably around 2 years ago, but right now it's kind of doubled. And they're paying right now in transactional fees about $1 billion. So think about that. If Amazon just switched over to Bitcoin only, solely took Bitcoin, and this is at 38 billion, which is putting it's really closer to 100 billion. So that number would be closer here to about 10,000 of Bitcoin. But even if it was at this number of 38 billion, they only took Bitcoin, then that would make the price and value of the currency to skyrocket at 5,400. And then gas stations, of course, right, 234 billion. So if that was our market cap for Bitcoin, it would make our Bitcoins go to $34,400. So you just heard Bishop tell you about these investors. I mean that the Winklevoss twins are the guys that created Bishop. Was that Facebook that they created, or what was it?
Yeah. Actually, they were the ones who had the whole concept for doing a social media platform like that, and they were the ones who hired Mark Zuckerberg to build that type of platform. So they were there from the
Well, there
very
you go.
beginning. Yeah, and they're worth billions and billions of dollars now, considered
And they
very,
haven't
very
spent a
savvy
single Bitcoin. Is that what
investors.
you said? They haven't spent any of their Bitcoin?
What was that?
And yeah, I think I heard you said that they have not spent any of their Bitcoins.
No, not one single. And I was just looking at this earlier today. Not one single Bitcoin have they sold. They said they're
That's
taking a
amazing.
long position because they are 1,000% confident on where Bitcoin is going. And you see all the heavy hitters in the financial sector doing that. And so again,
Wow.
they say success leaves clues, and that's a very, very big clue for all of us.
And then you're very familiar with this one, Bishop. So if you could help us with this slide, that'd be great.
Yeah. So valuing Bitcoin, we're talking about the international remittance here, and international remittance is the transfer of money by a foreign worker to the home country. And in 2007, remittance worldwide transferred $300 billion. Right? I'm sure you guys have gone to Western Union before to send money. I used to do it all the time for people. And the fees for remittance can run from about 4% to 20%, you guys, or more. And here's what's interesting. When you send money, does the money actually leave? Think about that. Does the actual tangible money, the paper money, actually leave? Do they go take that money and go somewhere and send it? No, it's just computerized. It takes them a second to type it into the computer and send off the transaction, but yet they're going to charge you up to 20% or more just to send money. And so if the market cap for Bitcoin was 300 billion, each Bitcoin would be worth $42,000. And the Winklevoss brothers believe it's going to be even higher than that. You guys, we're in the right place at the right time. And here we have some of the BitClub ATMs. And one of the guys that I signed up here recently, he was excited because as soon as he saw this slide, he's like, yeah, I've seen those. He's like, I've seen those in the Philippines and other places. And so he was so excited because he's actually seen and used these BitClub ATMs. And so he knew all about it and was very, very excited and got on board right away because, again, that's the future. Just think about this. Before, even regular ATMs were unknown, right? ATMs haven't been around forever. So even when the first ATMs came out, I remember my father, and I always bring up my father because he's always really funny with this kind of stuff. He's always hesitant. And he didn't want to use an ATM. He's like, no, there's no way people are going to start using and trusting a machine. I'm going to go in and I'm going to talk to somebody. But now it's mainstream, and now he's using it all the time without it's second nature. And I believe Bitcoin is going to become second nature just like that. So BitClub has some more ATMs, like I said, and I know I think Joe said they have one in Orange County. Was that correct, Danny? I believe he says they have one machine
Correct.
in Orange County. Yeah, one ATM machine right now. And I'm actually going to be talking to a lady on Friday who is heavily involved in the ATM industry. And so she's excited to hear this because she owns ATMs all over in different casinos and everywhere. She's very big in that industry. So I'm going to actually talk to her and be like, hey, you know what? You want to position yourself for where ATMs are going since you already own all these ATMs. And so there's tons of great documentaries. One is the rise of Bitcoin. And I really love the one Life on Bitcoin because it really follows this couple as they go about their daily lives only using Bitcoin. That's all they're using for all their transactions and to buy things and to live is Bitcoins. And so it's a documentary that follows them around. And I've been doing tons and tons of research online and watching everything I can about Bitcoin. And I found some amazing stories out there with Bitcoin and the power of it.
Awesome, folks. Well, let's talk a little bit about what it takes to be a part of BitClub because we're super excited. We want you guys to be as excited as us. So, let's get to that part of the presentation. Is like I could feel it, I could sense it. And people are just like, well, how do I get in? How do I get started? Well, here it is, folks. There's a one-time out-of-pocket of $99. And that's for your membership. So that's the first step. Now, once you become a member, you're going to have to make a decision. Now, right up front, folks, what I tell everybody is that this is what you really want to get. This is completely the best value. And, and I believe that we have to tell people what the best value is. And this is the way to go, $3,500. Now, ultimately, this is what you're going to get, even if you start it here, here, or here. When you get started with BitClub Network, you're basically starting your mining operation, and over time are going to get kind of built into it with your earnings into this pool and then into this pool. So we allow you to participate at a lower rate and think of this kind of like your your down payment, if you will, on this particular founder package, which is the 3,500, which is also the most lucrative package that we have. Now, the mining days are 600. So there's 600 mining days on all of these pools. The pool number one, which is $500 one time out of pocket, is 50% is paid out in commissions. Well, 100% is paid out, but 50% of what it produces a day goes to repurchasing new mining equipment. Remember, I talked a little bit about how equipment starts to quickly become obsolete in the mining world, so you want to have the latest and greatest, more efficient, more productive, and more profitable equipment in order to mine. So we've set up a way where every single person is participating in the club and to help them solve that issue. And so 50% of the commissions that are paid out of the mining power goes into repurchasing. So the other 50%, you could take it out, you could turn it into fiat currency, you could take it out every day. There's no limitations. You could take it out, spend it, do whatever, or keep it in Bitcoin. Because as the value goes up, whatever you mine goes up with the coin. So that's very, very important. And that's one of the things that Will was talking about and some of the other members have experienced. In fact, I have a very good friend of mine that's webinar right now in Mexico that was just amazed because he bought some Bitcoin and he just purchased some Bitcoin as he was waiting to get processed into BitClub Network, and he saw that just by buying it, $100 turned into like $105 and then $107 or something like that within days, just because of the value. And so you don't have to be an expert on Bitcoin or Bitcoin mining, but you do have to understand value, and that's what we have here. We have value. So $1,000, 600 mining days, 60% goes to your commissions, 40% goes to the repurchase, and then the $2,000 one time out of pocket. Remember, this is all one time out of pocket. There's no auto ship here. There's nothing else. There's nothing else you have to do. Is just buy your mining pool contract. And then this one is 70% and 30%. Now the founder pool actually gives you a share in every one of these pools. Now, obviously, there's more people in this one because of the price point, right? That's going to have a lot more people than the 1,000, and then the 2,000 is going to have less individually. So you get a share in every one of these pools. So the more profitable position for you to be in BitClub mining is to be at the founder pool. Now, let's continue on here, and what we'd like to do is just take a small little break here, because this is basically the end of our presentation for those of you that are interested in Bitcoin mining. However, I'm going to do a quick little pause, no more than about a minute. And when we come back, when we start back up, we're going to be going through another portion of the benefits of becoming a BitClub miner. When you become a member of BitClub, not only can you make money doing the mining contracts, but we do have a referral program. And so we're going to pause for those of you that are just interested in a one-time out-of-pocket and being able to perpetually produce Bitcoin and over time take a long position on Bitcoin production, then get back immediately with a person that invited you to this webinar. Because remember, this is all friends and family. This is all private invitation. That's all this is. This is the only way you can join is through one of our pre-existing members. So they thought enough about you to invite you here. So at least call them and say thank you and let them know if you want to participate. If you don't, that's great. We'll talk to you in 18 months and we'll check back with you. So thank you so much for being on this presentation. Now, for those of you I want to hang out for about a minute, and we're going to go ahead and dive into how you can also make money by just referring a few people and how you can make a tremendous income that way as well. So let's go ahead and take a quick little pause for about a minute, go grab something to drink. We're only going to take about 4 more hours of your time, and then we'll be done. I'm just kidding. It'll just take about 15 minutes. So thank you so much. We're going to pause now for about a minute. Okay, great. So that was probably a California minute. I didn't see anybody logging off, so I'm like, let's just move forward. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to invite Bishop back here to kind of help me a little bit with this presentation, the compensation plan. If you can, if not, I'll go ahead and just jump in. Okay, so looks like Bishop is unavailable right now. So once you do the $99, there's a couple of ways you're going to get paid. Now, folks, I've been a student of this industry for many, many years, and I've learned a lot about different compensation plans. In fact, close to 10 years ago, when I first got started in this industry of the home-based business arena, I found out what a binary type of compensation structure was. And so actually one of my very good friends that actually I met 9 years ago in that one company, we started with a binary program. And so you really have a left team and a right team. That's all that means. You have two teams. That's why it's called a binary. And so as you produce and people come on board and join you, you're creating the sales organization on the left, sales organization on the right. Now, when these mining pools are sold, either the 500, the 1,000, or the 2,000, what's going to happen here is you have these credits, right? 3, 6, and 12. So when you sell a $3,500 package, then you're getting these credits, right? So you have a share in each one of these pools, so you get 3, 6, and 12. Now, this is important, folks, because when you have 15 credits on the left and 15 credits on the right, that equals a cycle, and a cycle is worth $200. So over and above what you make in the actual selling of the actual mining pools, because this is just the first piece of the compensation plan, you can cycle up to 10 times per day once through the compensation structure and the rank advancement. You get to the top of the ranks, which is Monster Builder. When you first get started, you're a miner, and you could cycle 4 times a day. Now, if you do the math, 4 times 200, that's 800. So your potential to earn per day with one position strictly off of the binary is $800 a day when you first start. Now, as you go up and rank up to Builder, Pro Builder, Master Builder, and Monster Builder, you're going to get up to 10 cycles a day, which is $2,000 per day that you get paid in Bitcoin every day, folks. I've already seen profits just from that portion of it, just from leaving my money inside my wallet. It increases as Bitcoin increases. So now there is, there's a caveat. If it goes down, you haven't taken it out, well, guess what? Then you're going to absorb that as well. So I want everybody to understand that we do get paid every single day in Bitcoin. There's no limitations on how much money you want to transfer out. You can take out all of your profits every single day with no limitations. So it's very, very important. So let's go ahead and continue on here. If you do the math at the top position, or excuse me, the top of the comp plan within the binary structure, when you cycle 10 times a day at 200, that's $2,000 per day, which is $60,000 a month with one position. Okay. Now we also have a matching bonus that goes down through 8 levels, which is $10. So every time one member of your group cycles at $200, you get paid $10. So when you're a miner, you're going to get 2 levels of that, level 1 and 2. Once you get to level 3, 4, when you become a builder, then you get an additional 3 and the 3rd level, the 4th level at $10. So now you're getting paid on 4 levels once you become a builder. Once you go to Pro Builder, then you're going to be paid through 6 levels of $10. And once you get through Master Builder, then that's a 7 and 8. You'll get the $10 through 8 levels. $80 worth of matching bonus on the binary cycling of your team members. Now the ranking system, folks, here's what it takes to become a miner. A one-time out-of-pocket of $99 plus 1 share of any one of the mining pools. That puts you as a miner. Once you become a builder, go out and tell 5 people. So sponsor 5 miners and have each one of them bring in 2 miners each and do a total of 10,000 total enrollment tree volume. Then now you're a builder and able to capitalize on 4 levels worth of matching bonuses. As a master builder, then you sponsor, it's always 5, right? The maximum that you're going to have to sponsor is 5, and then work with your team for them to go out and get 2 people each, and then based on volume alone, once you get to Monster Builder, right? You're going to have 3 different legs of sponsorship and 2 million worth of volume monthly. Then you're going to be at the top of being able to get all of these matching bonuses up to the 8th level. Now, we have a level up program, and typically, folks, I've always hated level ups. Not for me, until this company. And the reason why is, even if you get, do the level up on your first 2 people, they still go into your binary. So if you have 2 people that go to work and go and just build, exponentially, then you still could make $60,000 with just 2 people that you bring into the program. So you bring in person 1, person number 2, you earn 5% of whatever package they pick. So if they buy a $500 package, you make 5% of that, so that's 25 bucks. $1,000, 5% is 50 bucks. $2,000, 5% is 100 bucks, and so on and so forth. So $3,500, 5% is 10% is 350, so $175. Now, on whatever those team members purchase, you get 10% commission is paid on full shares as well as partial shares. So remember that there's repurchasing that happens every day. That happens automatically. Nobody has to do anything. Nobody has to go into their back office, click a button or whatever. It's already set up that way. So you're going to be earning money every day from the people that are mining with you in this endeavor. Now this level up Team Infinity bonus, now that was 5% on the first 2 that you bring in directly, and then on cell 3, 4, and 5 you get 6% and then 1% on everything that their first 2 people do to infinity. Okay, so you earn 6% on whatever these 3 members purchase. Member 3, 4, and 5, whatever they purchase, you're going to make 6% and then 1% level up bonus on all of their first 2 of all of their first 2 of all of their first 2 of all of their first 2 through infinity. Okay, so that's really powerful. So then 6, 7, and 8, you're going to earn 7% on whatever they purchase, and then 2% on their first 2, and then 1% on their 3, 4, and 5. So you're going to earn a total of 15% on whatever these 3 team members purchase, okay? And you also earn a 2% level up bonus on all of their first 2, and their first 2, and their first 2, and their first 2, which is powerful, okay? And this goes the same way for cell 7 and 8. Now, level up Team Infinity bonus on Team 4, 8%, earn 8% on whatever these 3 team members purchase, and that's going to be through from cell number 1 through number 8. On the first 2, it's going to be 3% of their first 2, of their first 2, of their first 2, and then on cells 3, 4, and 5, on Team 4, it's going to be 2%, 2%, 2%, and then on cells 6, 7, and 8, it's going to be 1% to infinity of all of their 6, 7, and 8, 6, 7, and 8, 6, 7, and 8, all the way down to infinity, folks. This is huge, huge, huge money. Generational bonuses, full shares. In order for you not to get locked out when people have a Team 4 and a Team 4, is you get a generational override until somebody hits their Team 4, which is a 1% of all of those people. So now we're not talking levels, we're talking generations of people at your earning 1% of every purchase and repurchase made on all of those members. And then your second generation, when somebody catches you up, then you're going to get a Team 4 of Team 4 of Team 4, which is a 5% override. And then on Team 4 of a Team 4 of a Team 4 of a Team 4, you get 5% of that as well. So this is thousands of people that you're earning money on. So the level of bonuses works exactly identically the same, just different, because we were talking about right now full shares, and the level of bonuses on repurchases and partial shares work exactly identically the same, just different. The only difference is one's a full share and the other one's a partial share. Other than that, they work exactly the same. So the level up on first two people, you will earn a 10% bonus on all repurchases. 6, 7, and 8, 5%. Level up team 4, 18%. And you will also receive a 6% level up bonus on all the people in your team 4 when they enroll their 3rd, 4th, and 5th personally. So, folks, this is basically the exact same structure, but on the repurchase of partial shares. Generation 1, 2% of a team 4 of a team 4. Generation 2, 1% of 3 team 4s. And Generation 3, 1% of 4 team 4s. And once again, this is in the thousands and thousands of people, folks. So the residual infinity bonuses on top of that is Generation 1, 1%, Generation 2, 1%, Generation 3, 0.5%, and at the Master Builder, 1% on first generation and 1% on the second generation. So this is huge, guys. You can make so much money with this program, folks. It is just incredible. Every single day when I go into my back office, I have new money in there from the mining, but then of everybody's mining, I'm also getting paid every single day. So why network marketing? Folks, there's a lot of different ways that we can make money. I mean, there's no shortage of ways, but NFL, I'm not an athlete. Music, I can't sing. Organic products, I'm allergic. The movie industry, I can't act. Well, maybe an extra in some type of movie, maybe I could, but I don't know. I don't know that I could tap into that industry. Video gaming, I do it all the time, but I haven't figured out how to get paid to play soccer with my kids with FIFA 2016. Anyway, folks, so bottom line, network marketing is I do know people. I understand people, and I understand opportunities, and I understand trends, and I understand how the financial world works. So when you can add those components and into one opportunity and couple that with the network marketing industry, which is $167 billion, that allows everybody, irrespective of what your background is, what language you speak, where you live, what your education status is, who you believe in, who you voted for, what your religion is, doesn't make a difference. Anybody can participate, and guess what? Everybody spends money and sends money and transacts in currency in one form or another. And right now, we're looking at a trend that's actually going to be the biggest shift in wealth accumulation that you have ever seen. And you heard it here first at Big Club Network. I heard it 18 months ago, didn't listen, missed out on a ton of money. I've already missed out on 7 figures. My friend Joe is making $100,000 a month right now.
Yeah, and it's funny because when he was first talking to us about it, he was driving, I don't know what he was driving, but like a Toyota, let's just say, just a regular car, and that's what he had when he showed it to us 18 months ago. And now he came back with a brand new Rolls Royce Ghost, one of the latest Rolls Royces. And so, yeah, Danny and I, in hindsight, are absolutely kicking ourselves that we didn't jump on this 18 months ago.
I got to, get rid of my Toyota.
But it just shows the power of the business model. Like we always say, documentation beats conversation. And they went out and did it. And so there's an education aspect to this because some people are unaware of Bitcoin still today. But the people that see it, get it, and recognize it, we're in for an amazing ride.
So, folks, I want to thank each and every one of you for being in closing. Henry Ford, everybody knows who he is. He quoted, "It is well that the people of the nation do not understand our banking and monetary system. For if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning." I think as we're waking up as a nation, we understand that we're now part of a world economy, and that if China sneezes, we wipe our nose here in the U.S. and things happen in Europe, and unemployment is 45% over there. Everything is interconnected now with the internet and with the transfer of information and readily available and everything. It was only a matter of time before money went online, and that's exactly what's happened. With a more efficient, a more affordable, and unhackable, very secure way of moving your money around, and with tons and tons of value. So, folks, I want to thank each and every one of you for being on this webinar. And Bishop, always a pleasure working with you, my brother. And anything else you'd like to add before we close?
Yeah, that we just, we look forward to working with each and every one of you. And Danny, if you kind of want to tell them some of the events, live events we have coming up, because some people might have people here in Southern California.
Yeah, we're actually having a live event on Thursday of this week in Southern California in Downey. So if anybody is close to the Downey area, the LA area, then please let us know. We'll go ahead and be sending that information to you. And then we also on March, I believe it's 9th or 10th, it's either a Wednesday or a Thursday, we're going to be doing an educational seminar for Bitcoin. And we're going to invite everybody, right? So you're going to come out, hang out with us, and really get an education on Bitcoin. And so that's going to be a phenomenal event, so you definitely want to be a part of that. And we're going to be putting together, Bishop and I are going to be putting together a webinar schedule that we're going to be sending out. We're about to do some online marketing that we're going to tap into the power of the internet to bring people every single day into the BitClub network. So we're just getting started, folks. So position yourself as quickly as possible and get back to that person that invited you here today so that you could be one of the first people to get on board here. So thank you so
Yeah,
much.
absolutely. And we're able to help you guys get started. We have a website, kingdompowergroup.com/Bitcoin. So if you wanted to pay by credit cards, there's different ways to get involved. If you wanted to pay by credit card, that is one of the quicker methods, and then we can actually transfer Bitcoin to your account and get you funded once those funds hit our account. So again, that's kingdompowergroup.com/Bitcoin. We put that together because some of the other ways of getting started takes it's a longer process for it to actually post to your account. So we're actually able to do that for you and get you positioned usually within a couple of days or so. So wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I just put it up here right now. So Bishop, if you could walk us through here.
Yeah. And so this is the site you're going to go to, kingdompowergroup.com/Bitcoin. It takes sometimes about 3 days for it to hit the account. But we set this up again so you can pay by credit card. There's a lot of people who want to pay by credit card because remember, Bitcoin Club or BitClub Network only accepts Bitcoin. So you have to go in, create your wallet, and exchange that money for Bitcoin and then send that money to the club before you can get active. So it takes a little time to do that. So here you can go ahead and purchase one of the packages. If you can scroll down, Danny, a little bit. So here we have the $99 position, the membership fee, but when you actually purchase one of the packages, as you can see the packages there, the reason the numbers are different is because the $99 is already included and the 3% is already included in there. So you don't have to do the package plus the membership 99. It's already included in all of those packages on top there.
And this is a great example of value. See, if you had Bitcoin, you could put it into a blockchain wallet and then just transact it right into our website. Or use a QR code and just pay for it instantaneously and not have to pay 3%. But
Right.
those people out there, those Visa fees and American Express and Discover and Mastercard, and really when you think about it, it's like, my goodness, just so that I could use my money, I got to spend another 3% just because that's what they're charging. I mean, if it
Yeah,
was
I mean that's
Bitcoin,
that's not us charging that. That's what the credit card
no,
charge. Yeah.
we're the good guys.
So Danny's absolutely right. I mean, this shows the power of what we have our hands on because as Bitcoin becomes more accessible and more mainstream, all of these fees are going to go away. You're going to be able to do transactions instantly. And I've seen it live. I've seen transaction happen literally within seconds. People have their money. And one of the things that, like, Danny talked about earlier, there's no clawbacks, there's no refunds and all that. People get their money instantly, and it's very, very powerful. I also saw a gentleman who is a very successful guy in the pharmaceutical industry. He was just trying to buy some mainstream artist albums only through Bitcoin. He was trying to do a $15 million deal through Bitcoin. He wanted to pay through Bitcoin. So again, the some very successful people, the wealthy, let's say, understand Bitcoin and they're already active in this market.
Absolutely. Well, Thank you so much, Bishop. And so, once again, thank you everybody for participating. And get back to the person that invited you here today. We appreciate your time. Hopefully, you enjoyed the presentation. And we're going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you, and God bless.
Take care, everyone. Oh, Danny,
Yes, sir.
there's a couple questions here.
Okay.
Okay, that was
Folks,
Will.
we're
And then
back
Shannon
on.
says, is there anything to make you think the earning of the average earn of one Bitcoin a month could go up? Well, I
Over
guess she's
time,
asking, is there anything to make you think the earning of or the average earn of one Bitcoin a month could go up? I guess that she means with the BitClub.
you know what? It is possible over time, and depending on how many mining pool shares you actually purchase. But I like to give stats on what we know. And on what we know, it's averaged between 60 to 100% of the price of a Bitcoin per month. So I want to be very, very conservative and under promise and over deliver.
Right. Absolutely. So we have a lot of excited people out there. You guys, like Danny said, we're just getting started. I plan to get to that 100,000 a month. I know Danny does, and we're running hard with this. We want to share it with the world because people need this. People are looking for something solid. 401ks are a joke. Retirement is a joke. The dollar is decreasing in value rapidly. So people desperately need this. I don't want to see anyone on the bad side of this transition of wealth that is happening in today's economy. So I'm going to share it with everybody. So make sure you do, because I don't want you to call your cousin or your aunt and they say, "Oh, Bishop called me." Okay, because I'm gonna share it with everyone. So I'm just telling you, make sure you get to them first because I'm gonna share it with everybody. All right, everyone, take care and have an amazing night. God bless, and we'll send out the email for the next presentation and also the address for Thursday's live meeting. Take care.
Awesome. Bye-bye. God bless.